Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the University. So, this is a case that I have previously uploaded, but I'm doing it all by itself with some additional information. This is Amber Burgess versus Olympia Veterinary Specialist out of Thurston County, Washington, before Judge Sam Meyer. Now, the results had never been included in the previous video, so I've included it here at the end. Um, it's a little disappointing, not gonna lie, but I think I understand. And then before the case begins, I have a couple of pictures of Zeus. Hope you enjoy.
Um, I've reviewed what's been submitted. Um, and as I understand it, you took your pet to the Olympia Veterinary Specialist Agency. They were going to do a urine test. Apparently, there were some issues with that. And then you took it to a different veterinarian. And then the appropriate, as far as I can tell, the appropriate care was administered. And is your animal fine now?
Yes.
Okay. So you're asking for $2,500. I'm going to have you raise your right hand. Swear you in. I'll hear from you, and I'll have you break down why you feel the Olympia Veterinary Specialist Organization owes you that. Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You can put your hand down. So, how is it that the Olympia Veterinary Specialists group owes you that amount of money?
So after I had to take him, so I took him at his initial symptoms, like within an hour, 2 hours of noticing that he had any type of symptoms, to Olympia Veterinary Specialists. They had me pay almost $900 up front before administering any tests.
How
After
much?
the
You
it was
said $900?
yeah, it was 895, 895.30. Um, And I had called throughout the whole weekend because they sent Zeus home that night with no treatment plan at all, stating due to his stable health condition. So he wasn't dehydrated, nothing like that. He just had urinary tract symptoms, urinating, incontinent, that I could take him home and they would give me a call the next day. I called them multiple times, Your Honor, trying to get results because he was not getting better and I had no treatment plan for him. He went the whole weekend getting sicker and sicker, delusional, head pressing. He was even trying to push his whole body into corners of furniture and walls. And it was very heart wrenching to watch him suffer. Um, and by Monday morning, he was so sick he could barely even stand. He was completely dehydrated from drinking and just urinating nonstop. That I had to get him in to the vet. And I called OVS again, um, asking them what to do because I had already given them almost $900. I couldn't afford to have these tests ran again by another veterinary office. That's when it came to the realization that the whole weekend, I don't know how they did not have any other samples that went out to their lab, and that they didn't notice Zeus's urine sample was in the box the whole entire time. Nobody called the lab to check up on it, to follow up on it. They even mentioned how odd it was that they hadn't gotten the results yet. Um, and then they did give me the refund. However, due to the severity of him going without medical care in a timely manner, he had to be admitted and have IVs and have fluid. And by this point, he was so sick. My veterinary is like, I don't know. I mean, I want to rule things out, but now his urine is so diluted, we have to send it out and wait for cultures to grow because it was just like basically testing water at this point. Zeus wasn't like that on Friday. If we would have, if they would have followed through and followed up on their work and what they would have done, he wouldn't have gotten to that point. It wouldn't have been that severe. And it wouldn't have costed me between the medications and the antibiotics and his doctor bill. It was over $1,700. that I ended up having to pay. Now I knew on Friday I was going to have to pay the 900, but almost double, like, and it was all because of their negligence because they didn't follow up. They could have simply called a lab and found out that those samples were never there.
Okay. But okay, and so that's so about. Hang on, I'm looking for it because I saw it. Is that the Cascade West?
Yeah, that's his primary bet.
And then the bill that I see is 1513.45. Was there more than that? You said $1,700.
Yeah, there should be a few more in there for medications and
I see. I see the 109 and then 39. And you say you did get you got refunded the $895.30, which is essentially $900.
yes.
Okay. And so how does that get up to 2,500? That's where I'm confused.
Well, I was just charging them for the whole veterinary bill from Cascade.
Say that again, please.
I was charging them for the whole Cascade bill.
Right, but that comes to about
And then
1,700,
yeah, and then
more or less.
I lost a day and a half of work and then my emotional distress of watching my dog suffer the way that I did.
All right. I'm going to hear from Mr. Allen. Could you raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
What's your position on all of this?
Well, clearly, there's no disputing that the urine sample was not submitted to the laboratory, or I should say it did not arrive at the laboratory. This was over the weekend. Urine is usually put out into a box outside. The laboratory usually drives by and picks things up. They did not. We're not sure why at this point, why that did not occur, but it is not uncommon for these samples not to come back with results on a weekend until the very beginning of the next week. So nobody thought it was that unusual that we hadn't received the results as of yet. As of Monday, when they found the results were not in the system, that is when it was found out that the sample hadn't been submitted. So that alone was enough to make us feel that we should reimburse Amber for the full amount of the visit, which is what we did on the 11th. The rest of the issue here has to do with our hospital policy is that we are unable to reimburse for expenses at another hospital because we did not have any control over that visit.
I think what I'm getting her point is, what I think her point is, had this test been done and they got the results on Monday, then maybe, and the dog could have been treated earlier, they probably wouldn't have had to been admitted, and she gained some additional expenses based on the failure to have the urine tested. That's my understanding of that. So I guess I would have you respond to that.
Certainly, but once again, I was not. So like I said, I'm the managing partner of Olympia Veterinary Specialist. Well, actually, ER Union in this particular case, because that's the ER situation. The doctor that saw this case, I can't speak to her decision process. It's pretty clear that urinary tract infection was not high on the list of potential causes of this issue. So that's one of the reasons why the pet went home, and that's why usually negligent charges are against individual doctors, not against the hospital as a whole. But from the hospital's perspective, on the additional charges to Cascade Veterinary Hospital, we weren't there for the exam. We weren't there for the decision of what tests should be run and whether they were appropriate or not. Nor could I speak to whether they were appropriate or not, because once again, I wasn't there, nor was any of my doctors there for that exam discussion with the owner.
But had the test been run, would that UTI or urinary tract infection, would that have revealed itself on the Monday? And when, again, my understand, I'm not a doctor or a vet, but if you diagnose something sooner before it gets too bad, then that's better, obviously, to take care of it before. So I guess had that test been run, would everyone have known about it on Monday?
Would have known by, well, once again,
I
can't speak to the laboratory issue, from the laboratory's perspective. Cultured sensitivities require growing bacteria, so it does take time. And whether we would have had the full results of the test back by Monday is not, I can't really address that. We sometimes do, but quite often do not. It can tell us earlier whether there was a urinary tract infection. But once again, I'm being asked to kind of to work into diagnoses here. The symptoms of that is being described here are very atypical for urinary tract infection. So once again, we're talking about a doctor who did the exam, coming up with coming up with a treatment plan, or deciding on a treatment plan based on what she saw in her experience.
This is the doctor from your clinic.
This is a doctor in our clinic, yes.
All right. And was that, hang on just a second.
Actually, I probably should restate that. Dr. Wendy Evans is a independent relief doctor, ER relief doctor. She's not actually employed by our hospital, except as a relief doctor.
Give me a minute there. How long was, and Ms. Burgess, how long was your pet at the Cascade West? You said she was admitted for how long?
He was admitted for IV fluids overnight. And then I went and picked him up later on that next day, late in the evening. He came home with a bubble pack with more hydration, and I ended up having to take him back the very next day for more hydration. So we were in and out of the vet. He stayed Monday night. I picked him up Tuesday late afternoon, and then I had to miss work and take him back on Wednesday to have the antibiotics and more hydration pack done. At this point, he had blood coming out of his urethra. I mean, like it was pretty traumatic until he just continued to decline. And when speaking of the lab work over the weekend, I was told on Friday I would get those lab results on Saturday with a treatment plan that I never got. So that was the main reason for all my calling all weekend, is because I was supposed to have those results before Monday.
Got it. So on Monday, and then when was your animal admitted again?
He was admitted Monday.
I'm sorry?
He was admitted Monday.
I see.
By the time I got answers on Monday, he was severely sick, and I called them bawling and crying because of how bad he was.
And when were you expecting a call with the results, I guess?
Saturday morning, the following day.
I see. I'm just reviewing these records here for your subsequent visit. I'm going to step off for about 3 minutes, and then I'll come back and give a decision. Be back in a minute.
So as we can see here, the case was dismissed. And I think what it comes down to, in my layperson estimation, is that Ms. Burgess wasn't able to prove that the veterinary specialist office did anything wrong. So failed to do what they were obligated to do, or did something that they knew they weren't supposed to do. Their process was to put the samples in the pickup box outside of their office, and they did that. They didn't double check it, which was maybe potentially negligent, but they didn't have a practice of checking it, and she can't say that they did or that they knew they would regularly not be picked up on time. Their business practice was to put the samples in that pickup box outside and rely on the laboratory to send somebody to pick up the samples. So she wasn't able to prove her case against them. That's just my opinion, but I'd love to know your thoughts. See you in the comments.